What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the ridiculously ruthless Dr. Disaster. And the way that Capcom has been behaving lately is kinda like the guy who lets out a nasty fart and then refuses to take the blame.
It was you.
Monster Hunter Wilds was obviously a massive financial success, and Capcom basked in the glory of that success by proudly announcing that they had sold 10 million copies in the game's first month, but things quickly turned sour for PC players of the game because the game runs like shit. In fact, it has gotten so bad on PC that on the Steam platform, players have had enough. They started leaving very negative reviews on the game on Steam. In fact, on Steam right now, the user reviews have just dipped below 50% for the first time. Gamers have become aware of Capcom's failings, but as I said, Capcom refuses to acknowledge that they are responsible for the stench.
What is that smell? Oh!
That's the smell of desire, my lady.
As we covered the other day, Capcom actually just put out a statement talking about a series of guidelines for behaviors that they expect gamers to follow, and they have threatened to sue anyone who is overly critical of them. This seems to have been in direct response to the negative reviews that they're getting. This whole situation really seems to have embarrassed Capcom. They're like the guy who ripped ass, and now they're getting indignant as more people call them out for the wretched smell.
Do not go in there. Woo!
How dare you?
Rather than accept that they, Capcom, have done something wrong, rather than accept that gamer criticism is extremely warranted in this situation, they are now tripling down on pushing back against gamers. They just canceled a presentation that they were going to give at the annual Computer Entertainment Developers Conference called Making Monster Hunter Wilds Run Smoothly. The game journalists are running cover for Capcom, taking up their talking points and saying that the poor, defenseless corporation is just being harassed. This has all the emotional maturity of a little kid throwing a tantrum. They hate the fact that they ripped ass and that we noticed it.
Oh, damn!
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I've begun uploading some content onto Rumble as well, so make sure that you follow Dr. Disaster on that site too. Also, give me a follow over on X, where my handle is Dr. Disaster 1. In any case, let's talk about what Capcom is up to. Now, as I briefly mentioned the other day, I think that one of the primary reasons that Capcom is getting so bent out of shape about these negative review scores on Steam is this right here. They made Monster Hunter Wilds a day one Steam release, and it paid off big time. Word is that Capcom is growing less happy with their longtime buddies over at PlayStation and more impressed with the sales that they're seeing on Steam. They are wanting to lean into Steam more, which should have been a no-brainer, but this would explain why they are getting so pissed off and throwing such a big fit about these negative Monster Hunter review scores. Now, obviously the sales of any game dry up quite a bit after the first few weeks past its release, but I'm willing to bet that sales have dropped very significantly on Steam for Monster Hunter Wilds. If you look here, the game is damn near out of the top 100 sellers on the platform. Yes, the game is about 4 months old by now, but This was a massive release, and games that big typically remain pretty high on the sellers list for quite a while, especially during the comparatively slow summer months that have taken place since that game came out. For reference, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which sold a few million copies, but nowhere near Monster Hunter's numbers, that game, as you can see here, is still sitting at number 52 on the Steam top sellers list. Assassin's Creed Shadows, which hasn't even sold a million copies on Steam since it released back in March, that game is sitting at number 68. Monster Hunter released at about the same time as these two games. It sold way better, but has dropped off faster than both. This helps explain Capcom's frustration in this situation, but this is them throwing a tantrum now. This article here is from PC Gamer, kissing the boots of and running cover for their corporate masters. The article says here, Capcom has canceled a developer presentation on performance and optimization in Monster Hunter Wilds that was planned to take place later this month at the 2025 Computer Entertainment Developers Conference, the Japanese equivalence to GDC, the Game Developer Conference. While Capcom hasn't stated a reason behind the change, the lecture's cancellation comes as Monster Hunter Wilds developers face harassment stemming from an ongoing outpouring of negative sentiment about the game's performance issues. Dude, these game journalists drive me nuts. Clearly, Capcom is just embarrassed about the way things have gone with this game. Clearly, this whole thing is humiliating to them, and it should be, quite frankly. According to machine translation of the conference's website, the lecture, titled Making Monster Hunter Wilds Run Smoothly, all about performance adjustments, was intended to detail Capcom's many battles to maintain stable operation while realizing the elements that make the game a selling point, with an emphasis on GPU load, CPU load, and memory optimization. Yeah, imagine having to give a presentation called Making Monster Hunter Wilds Run Smoothly, while an outpouring of negative gamer sentiment is going on right now because the game runs like shit. Capcom just put out a patch to fix this a bit ago, and it didn't work, and the criticism is growing louder as a result. But immediately, this so-called journalist in this article here rushes to the defense of Capcom, blaming gamers for harassment. They say here, Capcom hasn't made an official statement about the reasoning behind the talk's cancellation, but there's more than enough cause to speculate. The overwhelming majority of recent negative Wilds reviews are centered on performance complaints that persist despite texture streaming fixes in the latest title update. While Capcom says it's committed to continued performance improvements, it isn't hard to imagine how a talk on making Monster Hunter run smoothly might attract unfriendly attention from the many players who say it doesn't. Okay, but if this event is basically the Japanese equivalent of the Game Developer Conference, then wouldn't it be a generally friendly place for them? Wouldn't it pretty much just be developers there? This is a pretty flimsy excuse. But, reading on, evidently Capcom developers have already been suffering abuse from players who've decided that the best response to their justifiable frustration with a game's performance issues is unjustifiable, targeted harassment. But where is the evidence of this? Why is it that immediately these trashy outlets like PC Gamer just take up these corporate talking points and act like the consumers, the little guys, are the bad guys? Is there a possibility that someone has been crossing the line? Of course that's possible, but believing everything a company like Capcom says with no skepticism is flat out stupid. From where I sit, it looks to me like Capcom is trying to use a few people, a few gamers behaving poorly as a shield to hide behind, and these game journals let them get by with it. This article concludes by talking about that statement from Capcom that they released the other day where they threatened to sue people speaking negatively about them. And I mean, as I said the other day, there was virtually no point to that statement other than to try to scare people off. They want to chill your speech and make you think twice before criticizing them. Too bad for Capcom that no matter how they point the fingers at gamers, everyone knows where the stench is coming from. But I'm gonna leave it there. Drop your contempt for Capcom and game journalists into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching, me hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.